A dark, raw, it's freedom disguised as noise. And in that noise, there's a boy. Thin, awkward, poor, a cheap saxophone clutched in his hands. His name, Charlie Parker. He doesn't play for money. He plays because he has to. 12 hours a day, maybe more. His fingers blister, his lungs ache, neighbors pound on the walls. He doesn't stop. Other musicians laugh. They say he's too eager, too sloppy, too young. But Charlie isn't hearing what they hear. Inside his head is something bigger, faster, freer. He hears sound as color, notes as shapes. He hears possibilities that don't exist yet. In a world obsessed with perfection, he's chasing chaos. A rhythm that doesn't obey, a harmony that refuses to stay in line. Each night when the clubs close, he walks home alone. Streetlights flicker. He hums new melodies to the shadows. Something wild is forming inside him, something the world isn't ready for. The Great Depression can crush jobs, dreams, entire cities, but it can't crush that sound. Charlie's sax becomes his rebellion. Every note a protest against limitation. Every mistake a spark. Every breath a fight to prove that music doesn't belong to tuxedos. It belongs to truth. The crowds in Kansas City dance to swing, unaware that in the corners of their own city, a storm is building. A sound too strange, too fearless, too alive to fit inside the rules. Soon, it will escape those alleys. It will explode from that broken saxophone into every jazz club in America. And when it does, it won't just change the music. It will tear jazz apart. New York City, 1942. Steam hisses from subway grates. The war drums of Europe echo across the ocean. But here, in Harlem, another kind of war is beginning. Not with guns, with sound. Inside a basement club, the walls sweat. The crowd leans close, shoulder to shoulder, faces lit by the soft glow of cigarette embers. The air hums, bass thumping, cymbals clashing, laughter spilling like smoke. And then it happens. A saxophone slices through the room like lightning. Charlie Parker. They call him Yardbird. He's not playing notes. He's bending reality. Each phrase leaps where it shouldn't, lands where it can't. The rules of swing melt away. And in that chaos, something new is being born. Next to him, a trumpet answers back. Dizzy Gillespie. Sharp suit, sharp mind. Together, they sound like two storms colliding. Sax and trumpet chasing each other through impossible patterns, challenging the very heartbeat of jazz. People don't dance, they listen. This isn't background music anymore. This is philosophy with rhythm, mathematics made emotional. It's rebellion disguised as harmony. They call it bebop, fast, relentless, free. It's the music of minds refusing to bow. But not everyone's ready for it. Club owners shake their heads. You can't dance to that. Record labels say it's too complicated for the public. White critics sneer. It's noise. Noise. That word hits like a whip.
Because for Charlie Parker and every black musician on that stage, bebop isn't noise. It's protest. It's the sound of intellect that refuses to be underestimated. It's every unsung genius saying, we are more than entertainment. Charlie plays like he's proving something, maybe to the world, maybe to himself. Every solo is a declaration of independence. Every note, a middle finger to a system that takes the art of black men and sells it with white faces on the cover. Bebop becomes their secret weapon. Small clubs turn into laboratories of freedom. No sheet music, no conductor. Just raw creation, thought turned into fire. Late nights turn into mornings. Cigarette smoke becomes scripture. Musicians gather around Parker and Dizzy like disciples, trying to catch even one drop of their brilliance. But brilliance burns. It demands everything. Charlie's chasing perfection, the perfect sound, the perfect phrase, something that lives just beyond human reach. He plays until his fingers shake, his mind frays, his heart races faster than the tempo. Because to be great, he believes, you have to risk disappearing into your own music. And that's exactly what's happening. The higher he climbs, the thinner the air becomes. Bebop spreads across Harlem, then downtown, then to the record players of a world that said it wasn't ready. And suddenly, every young musician wants to sound like Bird. Every night, the clubs overflow. The stage becomes holy ground. This isn't just music anymore. It's revolution. But revolutions never come without enemies. The old guard fights back. The swing-era kings feel threatened. Audiences confused, critics angry, club owners tired of musicians who care more about art than profit. And under the weight of it all, Charlie begins to crack. Genius is heavy. And genius, when ignored or misunderstood, can turn against itself. Some nights he disappears for hours. Some nights he doesn't show at all. The laughter of Dizzy fades behind him. The pressure, the racism, the expectations, they start to drown the music that once set him free. But tonight, none of that has happened yet. Tonight, he's still on stage, eyes closed, horn lifted, breathing out a sound that no one can name. Dizzy's trumpet blazes beside him, and for a fleeting moment, time itself bends to their will. The crowd holds its breath. They're witnessing the birth of something immortal, something they don't yet understand, but will never forget. And as the final note fades into the smoke-filled dark, a question lingers in the air, hanging like the last echo of the saxophone. But genius has a cost, and Charlie was about to pay it. A single horn crying in the dark. The sound cuts through the night, raw, electric, alive. It's 52nd Street, New York City. The war is over. The soldiers are home. But in the basements of Harlem and the smoke-drowned clubs of Manhattan, another kind of battle rages. It's not for land. It's for sound. Bebop has exploded, wild, relentless, unstoppable. It's the soundtrack of rebellion, the music of minds refusing to obey. Fast, sharp, defiant. A sound that doesn't wait for you to catch up. Every night, the same ritual. Dim lights, crowded tables, a saxophone screaming against the quiet of conformity. Drummers swing like thunder. Bass lines walk like they've got something to prove. And above it all, there's Bird, Charlie Parker. He doesn't just play, he summons. Each solo feels like a confession. Each breath, a war between genius and madness. The crowd doesn't dance, they watch, spellbound, confused, changed. But not everyone understands. Critics call it noise. Club owners call it bad business. People can't dance to this, they say. They don't want to think, they want to move. So the doors start to close. The big money leaves. White audiences turn their backs. But in the alleys, the after-hour spots, bebop grows like fire in a field of dry grass. Illegal sessions, underground jams. Each night, a new legend is born, and another one burns out. Charlie becomes the symbol of it all, the face of revolution, the prophet of a new sound. But prophets don't get peace. He can headline the biggest club in town, but he still can't stay in its hotel. He can change music forever, but he can't change the color of his skin. Each night, applause rains down, and the same world that cheers him refuses to feed him. Somewhere between the standing ovations and the empty rooms, a shadow begins to whisper, a soft, dangerous voice, promising relief. Heroin, the silent partner to genius, the curse that doesn't come with applause. At first, it helps him float. His fingers fly faster, his mind opens wider. Then it starts to take. A little focus here, a missed rehearsal there. The brilliance still blazes, but the man begins to fade. His bandmates see it. Dizzy Gillespie, once his closest ally, starts to pull away. The laughter, the camaraderie, the fire of creation, it all begins to crack. Charlie doesn't notice. Or maybe he does, and he just keeps playing anyway. Because when he's on stage, the pain disappears. The music becomes everything. And every person in the room, every doubter, every racist critic, every lost soul, they fall silent.
When Bird plays, the air itself listens. The notes twist, cry, soar, like a man trying to escape his own body. It's not performance,
It's survival. The crowd feels it, even if they don't understand it. Something divine, something dangerous, a brilliance too bright to look at for long. But behind that blinding light, the darkness waits. The whispers grow louder, the gigs get harder, the applause fades faster. And as Bird stumbles out of another club, another crowd, another night, one question lingers in the smoky air. How long can brilliance survive its own fire? Picture this: Los Angeles, 1946. The sun burns hot over Hollywood, but inside the jazz clubs, the light is dim, the air heavy, and the nights endless. Charlie Parker steps onto the stage. The legend, the prodigy, the man they call Bird. His horn glints in the low light. The crowd leans forward. They're here to see the genius who redefined sound itself. The man who took chaos and turned it into poetry. The band starts. The rhythm snaps. Charlie lifts the sax to his lips, and for a moment the world disappears. His fingers move faster than thought, his breath slicing through the smoke. It's pure fire, until it isn't. A single missed note, then another, a flicker in the rhythm. The crowd doesn't know, not yet, but Bird feels it. Something's breaking inside him. By the end of the night, his hands tremble. The genius that once soared feels heavy now, like it's carrying too much pain, too much noise, too much everything. The applause fades, the lights go out, and somewhere between the stage and the back alley, Charlie Parker, the man who changed jazz, collapses. Silence. No music, no rhythm, just the echo of a life burning too bright, too fast. They take him to a hospital, not a clinic for musicians, but a psychiatric ward, a place where broken minds are hidden away. The doctors don't see a genius, they see a curiosity, a man who spoke a language no one else understood, and now can't speak at all. Days blur into weeks, sedation, restraints, the wrong kind of silence. The music that once freed him now feels like a cage around his own mind. And then he's out, thinner, quieter, a shadow of the storm he once was. But Bird doesn't quit. He can't, because for him, music isn't a choice, it's survival. So he plays again. In small clubs now, rooms that smell of spilled whiskey and regret. Audiences who once cheered now whisper. The critics call him a fallen star. But when he lifts that sax again, it's not for them, it's for himself. Each note is raw, stripped of the wild confidence it once had. What's left is honesty, pain, beauty. He plays as if he's confessing something, to the crowd, to the universe, to himself. Every sound feels like a fight between life and death. Meanwhile, the world moves on. The clubs want something cleaner, smoother, cool jazz. The fire of bebop gives way to the calm of a new era. The revolution he started is now history. But Bird keeps playing, even if the world isn't listening, even if the crowds get smaller and the nights get longer, even if his own body is betraying him. Because deep down he knows, music isn't about who's watching, it's about who feels. And every time he plays, every tortured, perfect, broken phrase that leaves his horn, it feels like he's trying to reach something, some truth that lives just beyond pain. The audience may not know it, but they're watching a man wrestle with eternity. The genius, the addict, the revolutionary, all of it fused into one final desperate melody. The sound fades, the lights dim, and for a breathless moment, no one moves. No one dares. Because in that instant, Charlie Parker has become more than a musician.
He's become a myth. But standing there, saxophone in hand, eyes lost in some other world, you can't help but wonder, was this the moment it all fell apart? Or the beginning of something eternal? A lonely hotel room in New York City, 1954. The wallpaper is peeling. The TV hums with static light. Outside, the city buzzes with new sounds, rock and roll, youth, the future. But inside this small room, time has stopped. Charlie Parker sits on the edge of the bed, 34 years old, but his body looks twice that. His hands tremble. His eyes, once alive with fire, stare at nothing. The saxophone rests beside him, silent like a fallen soldier. This was the man who turned jazz inside out, the kid from Kansas City who bent sound until it bled, who took music meant for dancing and made it something to think about, something to feel. But genius never comes free, and tonight the bill has come due. He flicks the ash off a cigarette. The glow fades. The silence grows heavy, like guilt, like memory. Flash, Dizzy Gillespie laughing in the smoke of Harlem nights. Flash, a crowded club on 52nd Street, the roar of applause. Flash, his mother's voice, warm, distant. Then the flash turns dark. The needle, the bottle, the shaking hands.
He's seen every high and every fall, played for presidents and for ghosts, loved by strangers, forgotten by friends. Even the clubs that once cheered his name have shut their doors. To them, the legend has become a liability. Charlie reaches for his horn. The brass feels cold, heavy, almost alive. He lifts it slowly, breath catching, and for one last moment he breathes into it. A single note escapes, thin, wounded, beautiful. It floats through the room, trembling, then rising, until it feels like it might tear through the ceiling and into the stars. Then silence, the kind that feels sacred, the kind that comes after a storm. They'll say he died of heroin. They'll say he died of heartbreak. They'll say he died of genius. But maybe genius doesn't die. Maybe it just changes form, from sound to silence, from man to myth, from one trembling note to eternity. Because when the world went quiet, Charlie Parker's music didn't. It kept playing. In every horn, every rebellion, every soul still searching for freedom. So the question lingers, can genius ever really die? A gray morning in 1955. Rain falls on a quiet Harlem street. A casket, small, unassuming, is carried through the doors of a funeral home. Inside, only a handful of people gather. No cameras, no crowds, no noise. Just silence. And the echo of a saxophone that will never play again. Charlie Parker is gone. The man who broke music open, who turned sound into rebellion, now lies still. The newspapers get it wrong. They print his age as 53. He was 34. Even in death, the world couldn't keep up with him. The few who came don't talk much. They don't need to. They know. They've seen what he gave and what it cost him. A priest mutters a prayer. Somewhere outside, a car radio hums. A jazz station. And through the static, a familiar sound. The horn. His horn. Wailing, crying, laughing all at once. As if the universe itself refuses to let him go. Years pass. The world moves faster. Jazz clubs close. New sounds rise. Rock, funk, soul. But somehow, in the spaces between those notes, you can still hear him.
Charlie Parker, the bird, the man who taught music to fly. You hear him in every riff that breaks the rules, in every artist who dares to improvise, in every soul who refuses to play what's written. Young musicians study his recordings like sacred text. They slow down his solos, trying to catch the shape of genius, only to realize it was never about speed. It was about freedom. Because Bird wasn't chasing applause. He wasn't chasing money or fame. He was chasing escape. From the cages of race, from addiction, from gravity itself. When he played, he was untouchable. Every note a scream for liberation. Every pause a breath between pain and transcendence. And even now, long after his death, his sound refuses to stay buried. It leaks through vinyl cracks. It hums in the background of lo-fi playlists. It lives in the DNA of every modern musician who dares to break a rule. You can feel him in Coltrane's fire, in Hendrix's chaos, in every genre that ever dared to dream. Bird didn't just invent bebop. He invented the courage to be limitless. The camera pans through time. Clubs, headphones, concerts, the glow of city lights. His music echoing through generations, shape-shifting, but never fading. He's still here. Every time someone risks sounding wrong. Every time a melody escapes the expected. Every time a note hits the heart instead of the chart. Because Charlie Parker didn't belong to one era. He belonged to the idea that music, like freedom, isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to be alive. And as that last saxophone cry fades into silence, one truth lingers. He may have died young, but his sound never aged. He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing freedom. And freedom for Charlie Parker was a note that could never end. A city skyline at night, neon lights pulsing, car horns echoing, headphones glowing in the dark. Somewhere a beat drops. A rapper spits fire over a jazz sample. A lo-fi loop hums in a student's dorm. A saxophone drifts through a movie score, haunting, timeless. Every sound you hear, every rebellion disguised as rhythm, traces back to one man, a kid from Kansas City who refused to play what's written. Charlie Parker, Bird. He didn't just change jazz. He changed the way we listen. Before him, music followed rules. After him, it chased emotions. Before him, chaos was noise. After him, chaos became art. Listen closely. That syncopated hip-hop drum, that restless electronic hum, that cinematic tension in a film score that makes your chest tighten. That's him, hidden in the DNA of sound itself. Because Parker didn't just play notes, he played freedom. Every improvisation was a protest. Every mistake became a possibility. Every performance dared the world to feel something new.
And now, decades later, his fingerprints are everywhere. From Miles Davis to Kendrick Lamar. From Thelonious Monk to Flying Lotus. From vinyl crackle to digital echo. The bird still flies, in every artist who breaks pattern, in every voice that refuses to stay quiet. The camera pans across generations. DJs scratching, poets rhyming, producers layering beats, all unknowingly carrying his fire forward. And somewhere, in the silence between sounds, you can almost hear him again, that one wild note that refused to end.
The screen fades to a single image, a saxophone resting against a chair, an empty stage, a soft glow of light. Silence. Then a whisper, almost like he's still in the room. He didn't just change jazz, he changed the way humanity listens to chaos and finds beauty in it. Charlie Parker didn't invent bebop, he invented freedom, and we're still learning how to play it.